thank you again for all your patience. I have not had a lot of time to put all my thoughts together and put it in video form. Basically, I have to wait until everybody's asleep to do this. But essentially, we are now at the full review 2025 Superman movie directed by James Gunn. I have had some time to sit on it since I saw it this past Thursday, so been a few days now. I have been revisiting some scenes in my head and listening to some of the soundtrack and ready to give my full thoughts on it. So, to give a big overview, essentially, for those of you that need a quick overview, James Gunn, this is his second feature film with the DC Universe, his first being Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad. No, wait, actually, scratch that. This is James Gunn's second feature film with the DC Universe, his first feature film being The Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad with Will Smith, The Suicide Squad. And this is his first feature film under the new DCU banner, so new completely DC film universe. This is the reboot, this is the redo that he's also co-CEO of with Peter Safran. I admit that while I do love some of other James Gunn's films in the comic book area, so like Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously most people love that one. I was able to look at Suicide Squad, or I should say The Suicide Squad, and look at that. And while I can respect that it's a better film, I didn't enjoy it as much because, admittedly, I was looking at James Gunn. I was thinking I was getting a really fun film. It has a lot of great things in it. For some reason, I wasn't feeling the magic from it. When I watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, that his last film with Marvel, before going to DC for full time, again, technically a great film, a lot of great messages. It closed the story for the Guardians, I think, very well. However, I just wasn't feeling the fun that was so radiant with Guardians. It had a lot of weight to it, which I think is great to have. I think it's just for a final chapter. It just was rough for me. With that said, this film is really, really quite good. I'm very impressed and happy, walking away hopeful. I feel like the message it was trying to bring resonated very well, and I feel like the emotions that I was supposed to have coming out of this film, it performed very well. Basically, I feel like this film is a return to form for Superman films, as well as a great antithesis to Marvel, while not going in a complete opposite direction. And I say this as someone who is a big defender of Man of Steel. I like Man of Steel. I don't think Zack Snyder's the best director out there or anything, but I think he gets overhated. I loved Man of Steel quite a bit, flaws and all. And this movie has flaws too, but I think it's how well a movie, how the strengths of a movie, it's how well the strengths of a movie overpower any potential flaws or perceived weaknesses. And I feel like this movie overpowers all of them very quite well. So I think it also does a great job of being able to be bright, vibrant, fun, while not mimicking Marvel in any way. I didn't feel like this was a Marvel film at all. And this is coming from a director who's directed 3 Marvel films. And so I didn't feel a Marvel feel from it. It felt like its own DC universe, and I enjoy being in this world. I am going to go over the good, the not so good, and give a final summary of my final score. So basically, what I loved about the film, what I thought was good, the cast performances were the absolute top notch. I love David Cornsweet as Superman and Clark Kent. I feel like he does a great job. He sells it to me. I get the Boy Scout feeling, but he nails that. If I had to give a good comparison, my favorite fictional character of all time, Agent Dale Cooper of the FBI from Twin Peaks. He is cheery. He's very upbeat, but he's also very strong and very direct. And so I feel like with good men, it's hard to find that good balance. And so this Superman, while I would say I was concerned going into it if he was maybe a little bit too aggressive in some areas. Like if you saw the trailers, like he was getting upset with Lois with doing the fake interview, or I guess the real interview. And then some clips he saw, I was like, "Where's the dog?" Or he's like trying to do a Batman impression or something. Maybe those 2 clips by themselves kind of were interesting, but I was trying to reserve judgment. I'm glad I did, because in the context of the film, seeing how human he was, which I feel like is the point of the movie, is how human he was. And he had all that strength and that power and used it for good. Whereas you have Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult, which was, I think, the in my opinion, standout performance. I'll go into his performance in a second, but Lex Luthor was done so well. You have Lex, who has his own infinite amount of power in his own way compared to Superman, and with billions of dollars resources and political capital and weapons and everything. And what does he use it for? And it's for evil. So I love Nicholas Holt's casting as Lex Luthor. It was so good, and I really felt the evil from him. I felt that we got a good amount of density with him, while not being, I guess, too much. I feel like sometimes, especially I think Marvel's doing this. I think it has its place. I think it's good sometimes. It's where we try to justify everything the villain does. Sometimes bad people are just bad, and I think it had some instance of showing what little light he has, and it does have a little bit of that hint to him whenever Superman gives him his final sermon, as I like to call it, when he says, "Hopefully that you see that's your greatest strength too." Like Superman still sees some good in him, and that's the whole point: is that there is still some good to even someone like Lex Luthor, who spends endless amounts of resources trying to end Superman and commit to a genocide in the Middle East. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, top notch, so good, love it. The characters in this film, Mr. Terrific. I never heard of Mr. Terrific before. No, that character's been in a lot of different things. I never really watched that stuff. I am more of a Marvel guy, even when I grew up. But this Mr. Terrific, he lives up to his name, absolutely. And we have a good Yondu type battle sequence with him. Oh, so good. It's so fun. So fun. Um, Much like the song in his scene. Once you see the movie, you'll understand. And those of you who've seen it, you understand what I'm saying. One of the things the trailers I thought also made me concerned with was that, it seemed pretty clear we're skipping a full-on origin story, and it looks like there's already some other superhumans that are built into this or baked in. And so, how was that going to work? And I was super worried that it was going to be a little convoluted and dense. Now, some reviewers I've heard say, well, it is kind of complex. I don't think it's complex. I think it's dense, but the story itself is quite simple. I think it's clear enough. You got a bad guy, he wants to do bad things, he wants to get rid of the good guy. And I feel like his plan maybe just a little bit complex from a political standpoint, but I don't know. I feel like it's pretty clear cut. At least that's how I took it. And so, the bad guy was just trying to do indirect bad things and manipulate some things to get rid of the good guy. That's basically what it is. It's not that deep, but it's still deep in other ways. I think that when you look at the tagline for the film originally, it's like "Look Up." That's the gist I'm getting from this film. It's hopeful, it's inspiring. One thing I've noticed in films in the past 5 to 10 years, especially films that are so widely regarded as great, like Parasite, for example. Well, Parasite, but again, these films are just bummers and downers. They're just hailed as something awesome. It's just like being sad and depressed is a badge of honor. Don't get me wrong. Like I feel like we all have to deal with depression in some way, shape, or form. But it's something that we should combat, and I think not necessarily endorse. Whatever that looks like to be. And I feel like in this, it does a great job of, instead of looking up necessarily at a superhero, which is what this film does, but it also stresses what good that you and I can do as regular people. Calls to people who have the power to be able to do good, have the power to do great good. And then all of us regular people can do regular good things every day. And so I got a good gist from that. I got some slight Mr. Rogers vibes from it. I dig it. Really great. The humor I felt was just right. I didn't feel like it was too much. I wouldn't say it was nothing necessarily side splitting, but it was still good. I feel like, Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern, did a great job of being that arrogant, funny dude. Mr. Terrific was funny. And so, again, I feel like there was just some things in the trailer as well. It did enough to get me walked in to where I was interested in it, because I could tell that it was going to be this big epic film, but there were some things about the characterizations that concerned me. But that washed away when I saw it into the greater context of the film itself. So I thought it was great. Ma and Pa Kent. I can appreciate if people don't like this film for whatever reason. I will not tolerate Ma or Pa Kent slander, period. Particularly Pa Kent. I want to adopt Pa Kent and just give him a hug. I just want to give him a hug and tell him I'm proud of him and just hang out with that guy. And so In all seriousness, though, is that when you look at Ma and Pa Kent and you see how they've raised him, you got, Pa Kent, who's a more sensitive. He's a bigger dude, but he's sensitive, and he you can tell he just deeply loves his son, and just is a great source of love. And then Ma Kent, who of course also loves him dearly, and she's a little bit more. How can I put this? I don't want to say hard nosed because I don't think she was being hard nosed at all. But just when you compare it to Pa Kent, I guess you could say hard nosed. So you can see where he gets, or Superman gets some of his assertiveness, and why he might like Lois so much. And so it's just a great dynamic. I will not tolerate any Ma Pa Kent slander. They're one of my favorite parts and some of the more emotional parts of the film. You see it some in the trailer. You definitely get a good gut punch at the end. I don't mean gut punch in a bad way. It's just a good emotional gut punch that it does a good job of. Moving on to stuff that maybe I don't want to say bad, because I don't think there was anything in this film that was really that bad. Just some weaknesses and flaws, which every film has. It's okay. We all have flaws. It's all right. So basically, some of the dialogue was a little weird and clunky. There was a lot of dialogue that was just well done. Especially like I referenced earlier, the Pa Kent scene when he's talking to his son. I love the scene of Lois and Clark just talking about their views on humanity and why Superman does what he does. So good. There's just some random parts where it's just very clunky. Nothing that's worth really criticizing over. This is more of a mixture than sort of a bad thing, but it could have fleshed out some of the characters a little bit more. We could have spent more time with Ma, Pa, and Ken. I mean, I really want to spend more time with all of these characters, with Hawkgirl, with Guy Gardner, all of them, really, because I think it's a testament just how good the characters are. I want to spend more time with these characters. I want there to be a sequel. I could even do with a side TV show with just the Daily Planet characters so I could see more of them. I don't feel like there was enough of that. I feel like you could have easily put in, a few more minutes here and there, time that we could embrace them as maybe as much as Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen characters was cool. I don't know what it is, but he's just a cool dude. He's dumb for not being with that girl. You know what I mean? If you've seen it, if you haven't seen it, you'll see what I mean. This is a really big spoiler. So this is a spoiler review, but this is a big one. But basically, the big twist, one thing that makes this Superman film much different than other Superman films is that, what the common thread is that, and this is no different, where basically Superman is, or I should say Clark Kent, Kal-El, was sent to Earth as a baby from the dying planet of Krypton by his parents, and they leave him a message just saying, hey, we're sending you to Earth, and that's just all the message that he got. But then as the film unfolds, you find out the full message says, you will rule over them and have a harem of women, conquer Krypton, almost like Viltrumites from Invincible or something. It's like, Kryptons were actually Viltrumites. It's almost like they were hinting at that. It'd be kind of cool if it was, but not really. I felt that I liked the twist in and of itself. Don't get me wrong. I felt like the justification for it was just weird. Maybe this goes back to the clunky dialogue, but like it really is a weird thing when you're watching the first part of the message where it's like, hey kid, hope you're fine. I forgot what exactly, Superman's parents say, but, and then it gives like a almost comedic second act, where it says, but by the way, conquer them and impregnate everybody. So it just felt really weird. And so to a point where it's almost like they go out of the way to make sure to state that like, it's not a fake. And I feel like that's important to state because it kind of felt like it was fake. I've heard one reviewer say, I wouldn't be surprised if that gets reversed later on. Maybe it will. Kind of hope it doesn't. Like, just lean into it. I just felt like that part could have been executed better. Probably follow that over than clunky writing. In summary, I would say on the poster for the 1978 Richard Donner Superman film, which is often considered the golden standard of Superman films, the tagline read, "You'll believe a man can fly." The tagline for this film, like I said earlier, is "Look up." To make it even more cheesy, and to throw back to the Richard Donner poster, I would say, "You'll believe a man can be good." Or even more, you'll believe that a man with ultimate power can be good. Ultimately, this film did what its job. I felt hope. I was entertained. I laughed. I cried. I walked out feeling sufficiently escaped. And I'm looking forward to more what James Gunn does with this universe. So you might be surprised with my final score. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Yes, a 5 out of 5. Does that mean it's a perfect film? No. But to me, it has the magic. It has the magic. I can't stop thinking about the movie. I want to see it a bunch more times. I felt the strengths behind it and the strength of the characters and how they were written and portrayed and the chemistry was just so good. There's this chef, Marco Pierre White, who taught Gordon Ramsay. And I'm butchering the quote, no pun intended, but he says something along the lines of like, perfection is just doing a lot of things really, really well. This film does that. I think that's what a lot of people could get on this random soapbox, but that's what I feel like a lot of people get wrong about finding the perfect film. Sometimes it's perfect for you and not so much perfect for me. It's just what it is. Sometimes a nostalgic film is perfect for me. I love Independence Day. I grew up with that film. But if you didn't grow up with that, you would not say that's a perfect film. But for me, I really love it. It's just a part of my childhood. And you need to fly, not run, to see this film. Go see it. Spend the exorbitant amount of money to go see this film. You will enjoy it in one way, shape, or form. It does a great job. I'll do some other reviews. May not just be movie reviews. May do other shows or games or I don't know, recipes. I just like to review stuff. I always do it on a scale of 1 to 5. Even my day. My day, today was a 4 out of 5, but we'll see. Anyway, peace and love.